Dear Dewey, I read your article Trusting in the Shadow of Egypt that you published in the newest iteration of Not a Cult Monthly. Lots of us here read it. We even have a whole thread on here devoted to it, and it is a highly trafficked thread at that. You can go ahead and sew on the main character in XPR forum thread merit badge to your sash of many accomplishments. You've earned it, pal. Perhaps you can compare your merit badges with others who have earned such a rare honor, such as your friend Andy Lanning and a few others spread across the globe. Just be sure not use the G word in front of Andy. Now, Dewey, I must confess, I am an avid reader of yours. Devoted even. I've read pretty much everything you've publicly written, to my knowledge. One might even call me a fan, provided one has a very loose definition of the word. I enjoy reading your work in much the same way that a raccoon might enjoy eating trash. If you'll allow me, I'm going to extend this metaphor a bit. Brother, I consume your work and I am rabid about it because while other trash exists, metaphorically, your trash has the best flavor to raccoons like me. You have elevated trash to another level. You are, without a doubt, the Gordon Ramsay of producing absolutely delicious trash. It's not even close. Those non-psalm singing heretics back in the RPC wish they had someone who could write like you. But they're left with just regular flavored trash writers since you left to start remnant reform due to what is undoubtedly the greatest, most central theological debate of our lifetime, perhaps even of all time. Who's to say? Not the guy who wrote Praise God from whom all blessings flow, that's for sure. But this article, Dewey, I have to say is something special. It is undoubtedly your magnum opus, a masterpiece. It was deeply moving to me in much the same way that, say, several doses of Miralax would. It cleansed me like medicine of that variety. I am renewed, my body having been thoroughly emptied by your stunning article. It affected me so that I felt compelled to respond to it, if only to confess to you what a fan I am. It's embarrassing to admit, but my first read-through left me somewhere on the emotional spectrum between rage and fury. What a fool and a simpleton I was to have felt that way. I regret it. Please forgive me for feeling this way. I beg your forgiveness. You see, Dewey, the truth is that I envy you. I envy your masterful wit, your engaging prose, your various and sundry bulletproof biblical groundings, your unrelenting schedule with which you continuously produce more and more writings, your obvious access to a thesaurus. And this mighty envy of mine, well, and I am ashamed to say it, it skewed my perspective. My shame for this act, it is boundless. Because, you see, I'm a bit of a writer too, Dewey. And I have spent over the last year of my life writing a series of researched articles about the abuse in the PRC. A series whose explicit purpose was to demonstrate the need for the PRCA to do a third-party investigation into abuse in denomination and put pressure on leadership to do something about it. I spent over a year talking to the abused, the broken, the deeply hurt, the hidden, the scared, and championing their cause because they are worth it in God's eyes, no matter who would dare to tell them they aren't. I sat with them and I cried with them and I listened to them and I consoled them and I used my researching and writing abilities the best that I could to try and make a difference to get people to understand the depths of the untold horrors that this denomination has at the very least tolerated, if not perpetrated, in defining what the prescribed course of action is by abuse experts in situations like this. And until the day I die, I will be thankful to God that I was afforded the opportunity to do so. It has been the absolute privilege of my life to play even a small part in this. When Guidepost Solutions was selected for the third-party investigation and passed by Synod and the ad hoc committee worked to turn it into a reality, I collapsed to the ground and I bawled my eyes out. Not only for myself, but for the vast amount of people I knew who sorely needed exactly this. That, regardless of where these people were in their lives now, whether they were still PR, RP, RR, nominally Christian, agnostic, atheists, or something else entirely, regardless of who or what they are, that they are loved and cared for and not forgotten, and that they will not be ignored any longer, and that they are deserving of justice. Full stop. Dewey, I don't know how to break this to you, but some of those deserving people are even divorced and maybe even remarried. Gasp. But, silly me, I did not consider that Guidepost Solutions LLC works with faggots. As you so eloquently pointed out in your piece de resistance, Guidepost Solutions LLC works with the godless heathen reprobate sodomites. The enemy, as you called them 3 times yourself in your very article. I mean, you even took a screenshot. So I take all of what I wrote in that last paragraph back. I clearly must have made a mistake in championing a third-party investigation for those people. My apologies for having you read that previous paragraph and not just deleting it before publishing this positively gushing fan letter. And once again the envy overtakes me because I know that you, author that you are, would have known to edit that last paragraph out before publishing. By following your work, I've gotten so many tips on how to be a great writer and just overall be a better person. And while I was dwelling on that very thought, I discovered that I've been afforded a new opportunity. Lucky me that I, a humble trash connoisseur raccoon, am afforded the opportunity to provide some feedback and tips to my favorite author, Mr. Dewey Engelsma. Because, Dewey, what I am positively certain of is that you are a man who deeply cares about consistency. I mean, who could doubt it? You're a man of such solid convictions. You've stood by a murdered prophet not only once, but twice. Solid, unyielding, terra firma ideologically stanced Dewey. That's what I've always thought of you, and I always will, my friend. You so soundly live your life in accordance to your principles that you so expressively articulate in your many writings, such as, for instance, regarding third-party companies that tout their connections to the LGBTQ+ community in this most recent article. And so I just wanted to take some time and offer some light feedback that you, Dewey Engelsma, might want to consider for the sake of your unchanging, sturdy, thoroughly considered, uniformly applied, strong personal principles. First of all, Reformed Pavilion website is hosted as a WordPress website. Although WordPress celebrates pride, while distributing the esteemed online-only magazine, the URL of your PDF has WP content in the link. Even while your readers are opening and enjoying your highly regarded periodical, Filthy Pride is in the URL the entire time. Oh no, now that I think about it, Baby's first blog, A Straight Betwixt Two, is also hosted as a WordPress website. Although, oh no, look what it says at the bottom of every page of your blog, Dewey. Proudly powered by WordPress, oh no. Dewey, you yourself are proud of a pride company. On every page of your blog, Dewey. Oh, the horror. The call is coming from inside the house. Automatic, the company that owns WordPress, also celebrates pride. This must go deeper than we thought. The Reformed Remnant Church website is hosted by Squarespace, the very same Squarespace that celebrates pride. Oh boy, does it ever celebrate the absolute snot out of pride. Like, a lot, and even before the world considered it cool. Every time someone puts money in the general fund at the RR Church, money flows out of your holy coffers to keep Remnant Reform's website running on unholy servers owned by the Pride East Pride Stirs that ever did pride. Oh boy, all of Reformed Remnant's videos are hosted on YouTube. Guess what YouTube celebrates? Oh no, it's pride again. Every time someone watches one of Andy's sermons to see who's the whore of the week, revenue from that act is going straight to empowering LGBTQ+ community. In your magnificent article, you express sheer disbelief that the PRC would partner with a third-party organization that is so outwardly pro-homo to do official church work. Well, Dewey, I am sorry to bring to your attention that Remnant Reformed, the true church of all the true churches, has several of these partnerships themselves. The truest church on earth is partnered with the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Pride Month in more ways than one. And it makes my head spin. Much like one would think a globe would spin. Well, some of us, anyways. But despair not, my friend, because I have good news for you. Because of your priceless and sturdy principles for which I know you to hold fast at every opportunity as demonstrated in your upstanding character, you and your church don't have to partner with these organizations at all. If you ought not partake in the potlucks of Babylon, surely you ought not partake in Babylon's paid monthly web hosting services either, right? All you have to do is delete your blog. Delete your church and magazine websites, or transfer them to maybe a registrar in Iran or something more in line with your principles. And don't forget, you and yours gotta get entirely off of YouTube, lest you be labeled a hypocrite. And I, for one, will not stand for anyone who would deign to impeach your clearly impeccable, unimpeachable, upstanding character, Dewey. There is a legion of raccoons with me. We fight for your honor, Dewey Engelsma, King of the Raccoons. And not just for you, but also the Prophet Andy, peace be upon his name. We just couldn't bear for anyone to call you or Andy massively ignorant hypocrites. We simply won't stand for it. Now that's just the ones related to your official Reformed Remnant Church materials. I haven't even begun to consider all the ways my helpful tips might be able to help in your professional life. Because I took a look at your professional website, Mr. Dewey Engelsma of DAE Capital Advisors. This is your company. It even bears your name. DAEcapital.net is registered and hosted by GoDaddy. I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, esteemed King Raccoon, but GoDaddy celebrates pride. You could even buy a gay domain if you wanted. I'm assuming no. So don't forget you have to move. Delete your professional website, too. Every month, DAE Capital is putting money right into those sodomite pockets. I can't imagine how utterly crushing this news must be to you. I also assume, of course, that you never use your capital fund to invest in companies that celebrate Pride Month, even if it were your fiduciary duty to do so in the best interests of your clients. Because you're no hypocrite, Dewey. I know that much. I'm sure when you became a certified financial planner, you let your certifiers know you'll never put any of your clients' money to any homo or sodomite sympathizer companies. Because if you do, then you'd be a hypocrite according to your own standards and stated metric at a far higher dollar value than the PRC, positively dwarfing the PRC's financial contributions to Guidepost. Noted homo sympathizers, as you pointed out so impressively in your brilliant article. And if you don't invest in those companies, then you're a liar to your client's best interests and an oath breaker to your fiduciary duty. And I know that righteous Dewey is none of those things. So as your biggest fan, I just want you to know that I know you're in the clear. Now let's take a look at that credentials and affiliations page on your website. Brother, 3/4 of these filthy PRID full companies are literally registered as being partnered and affiliated to your literal exact name. CFA Institute, Pride. The CFP Board, Pride. Oh boy, a lot of it. They even offer packages specifically tailored to LGBTQ individuals and couples. The FPA Pride. So if you haven't already, better call them up and let them know you'll be giving them not a single dollar more because of your strong convictions about having relationships with third-party companies that celebrate pride. At the very least, you should remove them from your professional website. Maybe you should even decertify yourself. Because, after all, you've made clear by your own words that not even a stated disclaimer would ever be satisfactory. And, just to make sure I have my bases covered in case you enjoy a little college football in your personal life. Michigan State, Pride. University of Michigan, Pride. NCAA, Pride. This is where I'm betting, Dewey, that you just didn't know. Because the Dewey that I know is one that doesn't deal with filthy sodomites. Not in his church life, not in his professional life, and not in his personal life. No siree. I mean, that would be hypocrisy of the highest order. Because what kind of person would tell sexually abused people not to bother with the Guidepost third-party investigation? Because of LGBTQ+ reasons, who themselves show utter disregard for that same reasoning in literally any other domain of their own life. And church, who would publicly and loudly list off LGBTQ+ reasons for keeping sexually abused people in silence and unreported to professionals, but would ignore those same reasons for their own selves because it makes them $1 or helps their little contentious church get more visibility. I'll tell you who. The kind of person who lacks some sort of fundamental aspect of their soul responsible for compassion for others who are not like them. One might call them neighbors. That's who. Someone who thinks very highly of themselves and their own purity and righteousness, but who doesn't even bother applying their own purity standard to themselves as if there was some kind of log in their eye, but a speck in others. That's who. Some kind of priest or Levite who would see a grievously harmed and hurting person lying in the middle of the road, and who would use their power vested to them in their particular realm of influence to not only ignore this person, but to encourage others to ignore them and discourage those trying to help from even bothering. That's who. Someone who does not care for the least of these. That's who. Some kind of respecter of persons based on the person's perceived societal status. That's who. Some kind of Pharisee or something. That's who. I don't know if those things are in the Bible or not. I'm not the scholar you are, Dewey. And to those reading along this public open letter, does any of that sound like Dewey Engelsma to you? Because it sure doesn't to me, his biggest fan. I hope I've made that point abundantly clear in this open letter. But you know what, Dewey? In addition to all this, I have a second piece of advice for you. There are people who are going to tear you down, who want to be mean to the weak and wield their power because it's their favorite thing to do. Those who attempt to artificially lift themselves up by putting others smaller than themselves down. Whose motives are driven to publicly pick on the weaker, just to make sure people know the score on where the powerful stand. Do you know what we call those people? We call them bullies. And do you know how my parents taught me to best deal with small-minded, hypocritical, loud-mouthed bullies? You stand up to them, and you make fun of the bullies right to their prideful, ignorant, hypocritical little faces. Because more than anything in this world, bullies hate it when people make fun of them and let them know how small they are. And then you go and find the people the bully was picking on, and you lift them up. Sincerely, your biggest fan.